What's going on, guys? RBG here, bringing you a trailer breakdown for the newly announced Marvel's Wolverine game. A title that came as a bit of surprise since it's being developed by Insomniac, which is a good thing. I'm pretty sure many of you have been longing for a Wolverine or X-Men related game to be developed on a AAA level. And since Insomniac has proven themselves with Marvel Spider-Man, they've essentially become the current gold standard to what superhero games should be. Something else I want to point out, and hopefully my Xbox fans don't take it the wrong way, but if you're wondering why PlayStation has secured an exclusive for yet another Marvel related character, it's pretty simple. Money talks. If Sony is putting up their own money for the development and marketing, then they're not going to want to share it on any other console outside of the PlayStation brand, which is why exclusives are what they are. Microsoft obviously has that same philosophy when it comes to their titles, and the same can be said for other first-party publishers. It's just the nature of the beast. Now that Sony has acquired Insomniac, which if I'm going to take a wild guess cost them an ungodly amount of money, I see them keeping their foot on the gas pedal and hiring them to work on more Marvel-related projects. Since we're on the topic of Marvel projects, Insomniac took to the PlayStation blog to explain how this deal even happened. They segued into the topic after giving information on Marvel Spider-Man 2. They said, and I quote, "Now let's talk about the announcement you probably weren't expecting, Marvel's Wolverine. Back when we were working on Marvel Spider-Man, there would be times where all of us, Insomniac, Sony Interactive Entertainment, and Marvel would brainstorm together about the future beyond the web slinger. And even in those early discussions, Wolverine continually came up as the character we'd be really stoked to work on together. Fast forward a couple years, and we're suddenly standing in front of Sony Interactive Entertainment and Marvel formally pitching a PlayStation 5 game starring the adamantium clawed mutant. And this is an awesome explanation on how something that was once a dream has now become a reality. It harkens back to the process of how Marvel Spider-Man even came about. Back when Marvel's licensing deal expired with companies like Activision, they sought out publishers such as Sony to develop their properties on a AAA level. So Sony hired Insomniac and asked them which hero they'd like to work on, to which Insomniac chose Spider-Man. They mentioned that they related to the dynamic between the heroic Spider-Man and his everyman alter ego Peter Parker. Marvel Spider-Man creative director Brian Enterhart said that he felt Spidey was the most relatable of heroes. As much as he loves Tony Stark, it's harder to identify with a billionaire. And as much as he loved Thor, it's hard to identify with a god. So Peter makes mistakes, and he has ups and downs in his career, his relationships, his families. He thought he could relate to that. So Spider-Man became the first licensed property developed by Insomniac in its 22-year existence. And Wolverine has become their second within the span of 3 years. It's almost as if Marvel Spider-Man was a litmus test to prove that they're worthy of developing a game for another one of Marvel's popular characters. And now that they have two of them under their belt, the doors are open for more Marvel heroes to get that Insomniac stimulus package. Like, what's not to say that we can't get a AAA Fantastic Four or Avengers game from them? It wasn't that long ago that they put out a tweet looking for a creator director who specializes in co-op for an undisclosed project. I'm just saying. But anyways, I know a lot of you are wondering if this officially means the start of a Marvel game universe, or at least an Insomniac Marvelverse, and I honestly don't know. I haven't seen or heard Insomniac issue a statement in regards to this, but I'm hoping that this version of Logan and Spider-Man can exist in the same universe. I know some prefer that they didn't, since it could mean Wolverine would be bogged down in terms of violence, but I think it all depends on what he's cutting. But anyways, regarding the development of this particular project, as I mentioned in previous videos, Sony's acquisition of Insomniac has been arguably one of their best moves in terms of gaming. Since then, they've expanded the team into 2 studios, allowing their development output to increase exponentially. Like, you wouldn't expect them to put out back-to-back bangers such as Miles Morales and the new Ratchet & Clank game so fast, but they managed to do that while cooking up Marvel Spider-Man 2, and Wolverine is most likely in its early development stage. Since the main team of the first Spidey game will be working on Marvel Spider-Man 2, the team behind Miles Morales will be in charge of Marvel's Wolverine. Sony says, and I quote, "Marvel's Wolverine is a standalone game being directed by Brian Horton, the creative director, and Cameron Christian, the game director, who recently led the creative efforts on Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, a game we're extremely proud of at Insomniac." In the vein of our Spider-Man games, our goal here is to not only respect the DNA of what makes the character so popular, but also look for opportunities to make it feel fresh and truly reflect the Insomniac spirit. Even though Marvel's Wolverine is very early in development, from what I've seen of its emotional narrative and cutting-edge gameplay, see what I did there, the team is already creating something truly special. So as you hear, Insomniac is not only going to bring some new things to the table for the bouncing berserker, they're also going to utilize things that have worked for him in the past games. I know one of the most revered Wolverine games would have to be X-Men Origins Wolverine, which is a little ironic since it's tied to a movie that didn't do the character any justice. It's essentially what the Chronicles of Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay was to the movie counterpart, a rare jewel that was polished from a piece of turd. But anyways, X-Men Origins Wolverine Uncaged Edition will undoubtedly serve as the template for Insomniac. The developers of that title just got how Logan was and how he should play in a video game. Like, I can see Insomniac taking notes from this game just like they did for Spider-Man 2 the movie game. One of the things I think fans will want to see the most is obviously the lunge, which allows Wolverine to quickly close the distance to enemies. And they absolutely have to feature the rage mode. And since the weapons wheel has become synonymous with Insomniac, I expect them to incorporate that particular element within Marvel's Wolverine. But other things such as free roam I'm not too sure about. Like, the open world sandbox experience works hand in hand with heroes such as Spider-Man, but having that in a game that features a character who's rather limited in terms of traversal would prove to be unnecessary in my opinion. If they were going to give us the freedom to roam around, I think adding Logan's signature motorcycle would be a smart move. I also think that players should be given the ability to scale up walls using his claws. But anyways, regarding the overall aesthetic of this project, I know I mentioned in my Spider-Man video that Insomniac usually reveals their new titles using their real-time graphics engines. That's how it's been for all of the Spider-Man games, including the most recent entry, and they usually create a CG trailer close to the game's launch. But this time around, it's the reverse. For those of you who thought Marvel's Wolverine was all in-engine footage, you're sorely mistaken. It's all cinematic, which is totally understandable since the game is in its early alpha stage in terms of development. And I feel like showing what the game looks like in a real-time setting would have been a little too soon for my taste, because we already see what Marvel Spider-Man 2 looks like on the PS5, and just getting a CG announcement trailer for Marvel's Wolverine alone would get the fans hyped, because they know Insomniac's pedigree of work, and ever since Marvel Spider-Man dropped, fans have been throwing out suggestions on what Marvel hero they should work on next. So this trailer was enough to give us a clue of what they're going for. Speaking of clues, if you take a closer look, you'll see an Easter egg harkening back to when Wolverine made his Marvel Comics debut. Over to his right, you see a license plate that reads HLK 181, which is likely a reference to the Incredible Hulk issue 181 where he first appeared in the comics and squared off against the Jade Giant of Rage. Anyways, if you zoom over to Logan's left, you'll notice a red sticker on the refrigerator that reads Radio Lowtown 1048 FM, and this seems to be referencing multiple things, one of which is the location this scene takes place in. If you're familiar with certain locales within the Marvel Universe, the name Lowtown might remind you of the impoverished and crime-ridden town located in the southeastern city of Madripoor. It's also worth mentioning that the city recently made its MCU debut in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, when Baron Zemo took Sam and Bucky there to get clues on the newly resurfaced Super Soldier Serum. And it's also where Logan and Captain America first met in the comics during World War II. In regards to the 1048 number, this could be a reference that confirms that Marvel's Wolverine and Marvel Spider-Man both take place in the same universe, because if you're not aware, Marvel has placed Insomniac's version of Spider-Man in their newly introduced Earth 1048 universe. So yeah, that's like a clue that confirms that the two characters are in fact connected. But anyways, the last possible Easter egg I want to point out is this sticker that looks an awful lot like Logan's arch nemesis Victor Creed, also known as Sabretooth. I'm not sure if it's just me seeing things, but the resemblance is uncanny. And you bet your last claw that you know Sabretooth is gonna be in this game. It's like, why wouldn't he be? But with that, I think I'm going to go ahead and end this breakdown. Since this is a CG trailer, there's not much else to go off of, so I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Do you think this game can live up to the legacy or surpass that of X-Men Origins Wolverine? And do you think the game exists in the same universe as Marvel Spider-Man? Let me know down in the comment section below. As always, I ask you like or dislike the video. It doesn't have to be a thumbs up, it can be a thumbs down. Any feedback is good feedback and will only help me improve on my channel. But if you really enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you share with all your friends and followers on different social media outlets. Sharing really makes a difference. But once again, this is your boy RBG signing out on another video. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.